What up, friends? I'm shackled to this room and I cannot escape. But today we're going to be reviewing KNK's newest mini-album, KNK Airline. KNK have remained pretty diverse over the years, with sounds ranging from electro-pop, ballads, R&B, and everything in between. They've always had a subtle darker edge that made them really stand out to me though, and while every song might not have been a hit, I really do think that there was definitely a KNK attitude that you can come to expect from a lot of their tracks. However, with this newest mini-album, I'm really not getting much of the KNK experience at all, unfortunately. Most of the stuff on here comes off as fairly lifeless, run-of-the-mill, and boring, quite frankly. Autumn Breeze is a pretty harmless intro, and I really do feel the sort of anticipation and energy of taking off, if you will. There's some delicate guitar and soaring synths. It's not a bad opener, all things considered. This feeling translates to the synths as Ride opens up, and the anticipation just doesn't really stop. Unfortunately, though, the track just doesn't really go anywhere. The vocals feel fairly bored, and the main beat just doesn't have the backing that it should to inspire the excitement of liftoff. The chorus is pretty nice though, and I feel like that's where the vocals mostly shine on this track, even if the chorus isn't really that different from the verses until near the very end. The choice to make the lyrics about love is a questionable one, considering they literally had the concept of travel right in front of them, which I feel like would have been vastly more interesting. The lyrics, weirdly enough, don't even really have much to do with the concept of ride at all, other than some vague comparisons to windows and engines here and there. I don't know what was up with the lyrics to this one. Highway comes next, and I really do like the keys on this one. It's very dramatic and adds a bit of a darker tone to the track, while the synth contrasts that with a very bright energy. I also like the sort of electro touch on the chorus. It adds a sort of grittier element to what is otherwise a very clean track, and I appreciate that texture. The snap beat, however, is a bit basic, and it just doesn't really have a lot of power or energy behind it. It's a similar problem that the previous one had. I do love the transition to the bridge, though, and how they kind of switch up the keys a bit. Despite this, though, it's not the most interesting track out there, and it just kind of abruptly ends, too, weirdly enough. This one's lyrics, to be fair, are a bit more interesting, a bit more descriptive in what the singer and his partner are seeing as they are driving on the highway. I think that sort of imagery is pretty nice. You Are My Reason is probably the only real track I can say that stands out to me. The deep and hollow beat actually really fits the song well with the sort of somber and cold tone. The acoustic guitar adds a bit of warmth, and I feel like that balances out the more cold elements pretty nicely. The electric guitar is also welcome, and the darker synth during the bridge really adds a chilling tone. I do think this track is also one of the better songs vocally on this mini-album. I think they have a good share of lines. Everybody's kind of even and equal, and I think they take their vocals to some pretty nice places on this one. I also really like the multiple references to temperature in the lyrics and how they use this to compare their feelings towards themselves and their lover. I think it was pretty interesting. Time ends the mini-album, and unfortunately it's also not really something to write home about. The manipulated vocal samples are pretty played out by this point, and while the main beat is pretty different compared to some of the other songs on the mini-album with its focus on the electro bass, it again does not have very much power or drive behind it. I do like the sort of new wave inspired keyboards that are kind of sprinkled in during the chorus here and there, but unfortunately that's really the only standout thing I can think of about this track. The lyrics are also a just kind of fairly generic retread of a lot of other songs on the mini. Overall, I can really just only say that I'm disappointed with this album. It's not bad per se, but that's mostly because it just doesn't really do much of anything. It's literally just modern pop, you know? There's no KNK charm, attitude, influences, anything. They're decently constructed, I suppose, but like, anybody can make these songs. Anybody can sing over these songs. Like, where's that iconic KNK sound, huh? Compare this shit to like Sunset Lonely Night, Rain. Hell, if you want to go back even further, like Knock. You know, like this mini album just does not hold a candle to any of those. At the end of the day, while these tracks are not like an affront to music or anything like that, it really does feel like they were synthesized to cover as many bases as possible while stripping out KNK's sound in the process, and I just can't get on board with that. I'm feeling a light 5 on this. I was thinking strong 4, but like, it's not awful, it just exists. So, light 5. Now, of course, we have to talk about the album cover on the show, and I think the album cover is fairly unique. I do think that the colors, the sky blue, the whites, the sort of plasticky look, it does convey the attitude and aesthetic of Flights. I think it does, it follows the album title, the mini album title of KNK Airlines. I just wish the music was better, I guess it also covered with its color scheme and sort of spacious imagery. It does fit the sort of spacier synths on the album and how like soaring they can get sometimes. But yeah, it's a decent cover. I just wish it had better music behind it. But that was my thought about KNK's newest mini album. Did you guys actually like it? Did you feel like it had some I don't even really know how to phrase it, decent things going on here and there? Was it actually something that maybe you like better than their older stuff? Let me know about that. And until the next one, farewell.